Hey y'all, you're listening to Criminalist Behavior Podcast. I want to welcome to the podcast, and this podcast takes you deep into the heart, Louisiana's history, current, most chilling true crime stories. I'm your host, and I'll be guiding you through the darkest of these crimes and all those involved. Each week, we dig deep on those forgotten crimes or those currently happening with the underlying legends that continue to haunt us. So lean in, listen, and get ready because true crime is anything but ordinary. Stay with me as we unravel what happened in these mysteries. Today we're going to be on episode number 18, and we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Clinton Nelson. And this is an unsolved case from 2006. So if this is your first time listening, hi, my name is Sarah Studier, and I'm your host for Criminalist Behavior Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the show, and I hope you can enjoy it. So, trigger warning, this episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical abuse against children and adults. Listener discretion is advised. So, Clinton Devon Nelson was born August 9th of 1985 in Nebraska to his parents Caroline Johnson and Jeff Mason. Clinton's mother, Caroline, found out she was pregnant whenever she turned 17 years old. And initially, Clinton's father, Jeff, moved to Nebraska from Louisiana to help out with the baby. However, his father, Jeff, decided that wouldn't work out. So he then, after a short time, decided to move back to Louisiana. And Caroline married another man when Clinton was just a little baby. Clinton's stepfather was in the military, and his job moved the family from Nebraska to Spearfish, South Dakota. Carolyn's husband legally adopted Clinton, and they had a biological daughter of their own, which gave Clinton a sister. Caroline Johnson describes her son as kind, caring, and compassionate, and she says that he is the type of person who always sticks up for the underdog. He loved to hunt, fish, and spend time outdoors. Clinton Devon Nelson was last seen at approximately 8:30 p.m. He was leaving a friend's house after a house party on the 800 block of Ward Lane and Highway 80 in Princeton, Louisiana. And it was known that Clinton had a medical condition with his heart. He had faint scars over his right eyebrow onto the eyelid, corner of the right eye and right temple, and a lower jawline. He also had a scar on the left collarbone, and the accessories he had on him at the time was a wallet, and that wallet still today has not been located. The clothing that Clinton was wearing when he was last seen was a black ECKO brand t-shirt, blue jeans, a black knit cap, new black leather belt, white anklet socks with gray bottoms. He also wore glasses, and his glasses were round with silver wired frames. The shoes that he was wearing were DC athletic shoes with a red trim. Clinton was born on August 9th, 1985, and was diagnosed with that heart condition. They stated that he may have been taking the medication at the time of his disappearance, but he had a history of drug abuse. And according to all his family and friends, at the time this happened, he was clean for about 2 years or more. And his father called him, and Nelson said that he'd seen police lights in the area and thought that the police were chasing him. He has never been heard from again, and there hasn't been any activity on his phone. So, like I said, the parents were Caroline Johnson and Clinton. My father was Jeff Mason. And let's see. Oh, Clinton decided to move in with his father, his birth father, Jeff Mason, just months before he disappeared. It is said that Clinton always had a gnawing feeling that his life was just, always missing something. Something was just left out, and he just couldn't pinpoint what it was. By all accounts, he grew up as a typical teenager. He had a non-existent relationship with his birth father, which took a toll on his self-esteem and sense of purpose. He struggled in high school, and he began experimenting with drugs his senior year. At 18 years old, Clinton accidentally overdosed taking a lethal combination of medications, from which he ended up in the intensive care unit. Shortly after this incident, Clinton and some friends ended up breaking into their high school to steal items in an effort to gain money. Clinton was then arrested for that burglary in 2003, and he spent 6 months in prison. After his release, he always wanted that opportunity to connect with his birth father. He wanted to find himself and experience a fresh start in the state of Louisiana. Clinton's mother, Caroline, was hesitant about this decision and his idea to move in with his birth father, stating that Jeff Mason's lifestyle wasn't good for him, and obviously, Jeff hasn't been in his life for quite some time. She was worried that Clinton would be exposed to situations that might hinder his progress on being sober from the drugs, but Clinton was adamant that he wanted to move in with his birth father. So, there you had it. Clinton then moved to Houghton, Louisiana to live with his birth father, Jeff Mason. Jeff then married a woman named Debbie and her children in March of 2006. Clinton's great uncle was a supervisor on an oil rig, and he offered Clinton a job in Louisiana. They worked on sites like oil rigs, and it was excruciating long hours and the demand for heavy physical labor, but the pay was relatively good for entry-level positions. Jeff Mason's wife, Debbie, which would be Clinton's stepmom, hated the idea of sharing a small space with another person because they didn't live in a big house. And she was very irritated, and that irritation increased whenever Clinton brought his dog with him whenever he moved to Louisiana, which she specifically requested he leave behind. Now, I wouldn't have left my dog behind either, so, I mean, I get it, but her house, her rules, I understand. Anyways, the new family adjusted to the new circumstances as Clinton started his job at the oil rig. However, not too long after he started working at the oil rig, he was injured on the job when a pipe wrench fell on top of him, hitting his hard hat, and it resulted in breaking 15 ribs, a broken arm, and a large laceration to his collarbone. He went back to work as soon as he was able to, and he moved with Debbie's daughter, Rachel, due to the rising tensions in the house with stepmom Debbie. Anyways, Clinton told his mother on a phone call that he and his birth father had been looking into getting a place together, and he stated that him and his father was going to move in together and leave Debbie behind. So Debbie wasn't moving in that new house. And in addition to Clinton getting his own place, he was looking to buy his mother's car due to his truck breaking down. Clinton didn't have a bank account, so his birth father, Jeff, kept all his money in a safe, and he gave it to Clinton whenever Clinton needed money. The day before his disappearance, Clinton asked his father for money from his safe. So now we're going to go to August 31st, 2006. Clinton sets out in his father's truck to go to his friend's house in Princeton, Louisiana, which is only about 10 minutes or so north of Houghton, Louisiana. Jeff assumed that Clinton wanted the money from the safe in order to celebrate his 21st birthday, which occurred a few weeks prior. So this was after his birthday had passed, but a little after party, so you will. So Clinton got about $600 from his dad, Jeff, before he left. And Jeff showed up at the friend's house around 3 p.m. the next day, which would have been that September 1st. And that was because Clinton never made it home. Clinton peered at Jeff through the blinds as he approached the house, and he only spoke to his father through the crack in the door. I would say this is sus behavior. What the hell? Odd. After seeing that his son was okay, Jeff then headed to work in his truck. The same day, around 7 p.m., Debbie, Jeff's wife, called Clinton to tell him that his most recent paycheck had arrived in the mail and to ask if he needed it that night, but Clinton told her that they could go out together the following day to cash it. So Debbie then asked Clinton if he needed a ride back to Houghton, but Clinton told her that he would just catch a ride with his dad when Jeff finished his night shift that evening. So it was around 10 p.m. when Jeff was still at work. He called to check in on Clinton after he saw police headed towards the direction of Clinton's friend's house. Jeff stated that Clinton sounded very disturbed and scared. He stated that he was whispering for the entire call, and he whispered that the police were after him before the line went dead. Clinton was at a friend's house, and he called his mother's cousin for a ride home. She was unable to provide him a ride home, and he told his friend that he was just going to walk home. However, this is when Clinton would never show up. Jeff finished his work, and he went home around 3 a.m. to discover that Clinton never made it back. Jeff and his wife Debbie left early that next morning on September 2nd to go out and look for Clinton, and they drove to Clinton's friend's house where they were greeted by the friend and his girlfriend, but not Clinton. According to the friend, Clinton stepped out for a cigarette around 8:30 p.m. and he never returned. Jeff Mason calls Clinton's mother Carolyn, and this was on September 3rd, to inform her what's going on, and he tells her that the police won't let him file a report until the end of the weekend. So Jeff also tells Caroline that on August 2nd, 2006, Clinton was searched as a passenger in a vehicle during a routine traffic stop after he was acting suspicious and nervous, so his behavior was just unjust. And he was found in possession of Xanax, marijuana, and ecstasy, and was arrested for the possession of those narcotics. However, Clinton swore to Jeff and Debbie that the drugs were not his, and he had not been using again, so he decided to keep it from Carolyn. Clinton was still on probation from his previous infraction in 2003, so when a court date was set for drug possession and he missed a date, a warrant was then put out for his arrest. Police came to Jeff's house and a friend's house to pursue the arrest warrant, but discovered that Clinton was nowhere to be found, which led them to wonder if Clinton left on his own volition or was something else. Was there foul play involved? Clinton's family adamantly denies that suggestion that he left on his own volition. They cite that the fact that he left his last paycheck behind, and he was so excited about possibly being a father. A few months after Clinton moved to Louisiana, he received a call from a woman in Spearfish, Dakota, informing him of her pregnancy and he being the father, possibly. It was later confirmed that Clinton was the father after he disappeared. His family said that he was behaving normally prior to the vanishing, and it is out of character for him to be out of touch with them. His son was born months after he disappeared, and Nelson's mother is now raising Nelson's son. Prior to his disappearance, Nelson had been arrested for the possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and the prescription of drug Xanax. His court appearance was scheduled for November 17th, 2.5 months after he went missing. And when he missed a court date, that's when warrants were issued for his arrest. So, we talking 2 months before they did anything. After Jeff stated he made a report with the police department, or tried to, but they wouldn't take that report. It's crazy. So authorities and Nelson's family believe that he was dead and is dead. And his family has offered a reward for the recovery of his remains. They just want to bring him back home to be closer to him and, give him a proper burial. He did have a history of drug abuse, and there were rumors that he died of a drug overdose at a party and people just hid his body so they wouldn't be responsible for it. And in Louisiana, providing drugs that cause a fatal overdose can also lead to a charge of murder. So if that happened, his friend obviously ain't gonna fess up like we had drugs or whatever, or this guy gave us drugs to implicate someone else and possibly a murder charge. So another theory is that Nelson was robbed and killed for the cash that he was carrying. So that is a possibility. I mean, we talking $600. I mean, that's if he didn't spend anything. So Deborah Mason Clinton's mom is hoping for the best but fearing for the worst when it comes to her missing son. Nelson has been missing since September 1st. He was last seen walking away from a friend's house on Ward Lane near Halton. Ed Baswell with the Bossier Sheriff's Office said right now the case is still being investigated as a missing persons case, but he says that could soon change. Family members have been constantly calling Nelson's cell phone, praying he'll eventually pick up. But so far, just like his phone, their prayers have gone unanswered. Mason says Nelson did have a large amount of money on him when he went to his friend's house. She and her stepson had plans to go shopping the next day. Clinton Nelson was 21, and he was working on an oil rig near Tyler, Texas, and living in Bossier Parish, Louisiana. In the months following, while investigating his disappearance, police found that there were many people at the house the night of his disappearance, and that the house was a hot spot for drug activity, particularly methamphetamines. The friend Clinton was visiting was arrested in 2011 for distributing meth from his home, but he has remained firm in his account that Clinton left at 8:30 to smoke. Again, he obviously isn't going to implicate himself to being charged with murder, so it does appear to seem that, hanging around with that type of crowd, at that party, all that good stuff, this guy's known for methamphetamines. Maybe Clinton was back on drugs, and it was just unbeknownst to his parents, even though his father kind of figured that he was. Others who attended the party the night of Clinton's disappearance claimed that he was just acting very paranoid. And drugs, y'all, drugs will do that to you, obviously. I've seen many people on drugs, and they're paranoid as all get out. And it was said that Clinton was doing very heavy narcotics. Police worried that Clinton may have run into the woods under a drug-induced psychosis, and they initiated a ground search in November, but the Louisiana terrain wasn't welcoming, and it produced nothing. So where does this case stand today? Clinton's case still remains unsolved. At the time of a disappearance, again, we're going to go over what he was wearing. He was wearing a black ECKO brand t-shirt, blue jeans, a black knit cap, red and white DC brand sneakers, and he had a cell phone, though no calls were made after 10 p.m. on the night of his disappearance. He wore the wide frame glasses, and he had a wallet that has not been found, and were on him the time of his disappearance. Through all the rumors and rampant throughout the community, nothing has ever been substantiated. There are many theories regarding Clinton's disappearance. While some believe he left voluntarily to start a new life, others believe that he might have succumbed to the elements due to drug-induced psychosis. Due to the large amount of cash he was carrying, some people believe that it may have been a drug-fueled robbery gone wrong. Because one can be charged with murder in the state of Louisiana if they supply the drugs to someone who may have accidentally overdosed. Many believe that he could have possibly just overdosed and the friends didn't want to deal with it. Or that his heart stopped, causing partygoers to panic and just get rid of the body. Whatever theory is true, Clinton deserves to be found. If you or anyone you know may have information regarding the disappearance of Clinton Nelson, please contact the Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-965-2203 or Bossier Crime Stoppers at 318-424-4100. No incoming or outgoing calls have been recorded on his mobile phone since September 1st, 2006. Also, Clinton's paycheck of $2,000 is still at home because he never made it there to pick it up. So this is very strange because he usually maintained contact with his family and his friends, and he would never go more than 2 days without contacting someone. And he didn't have any known enemies. It is said that he may have a mustache, beard, or goatee. He has the scars again on his left eye and cheeks from a dog bite as a child. And he has scars and stitches on a collarbone from the injury at work. And he had, the ribs fractured from an injury at work prior to the week of his disappearance. The date he went missing was recorded as September 1st, 2006 at the age of 21 years old. He had blonde or strawberry blonde hair. And his NamUs number is M as in Mary, P as in Paul, 685. And he was 6'1" in height, and he weighed about 160 pounds. So, let's go over the timeline of all of this, right? Sort of like a little recap. Clinton moves to Louisiana in March 2006 to live with his birth father, Jeff Mason, and his wife and her children. And that was in, obviously, Houghton, Louisiana, which is 10 minutes from his last known location, which was Princeton, Louisiana. Clinton got arrested on August 2nd, 2006, whenever police seen him acting with nervous behavior as a passenger in a vehicle making a routine traffic stop, and found him in possession of Xanax, marijuana, and ecstasy. And he's arrested for the possession of the narcotics. August 28th, 2006, Clinton makes a phone call to his mom, Carolyn, in the afternoon, and tells his mom on a phone call that he and his birth father had been looking into getting a place together without the stepmom, Debbie. So, stay with me. On August 31st, that's whenever, that afternoon, he leaves to go to his friend's house in Princeton, Louisiana that afternoon. And he sets out in his father's truck and requested about $600 from his dad. So, Clinton's approximate last known location on September 1st, 2006, near 3 p.m., was at his friend's house, because Jeff went and checked on him at his friend's house. And Clinton peers through the blinds as Jeff approached the house, and he only spoke through his father through a crack in the door. And Jeff then had to go to work after seeing that his son was okay. So, again, September 1st, this was around 7 p.m. Debbie talked to Clinton on the phone. Debbie, Jeff's wife, calls Clinton to tell him that, his most recent paycheck arrived in the mail and asked if he needed it that night. But Clinton told her they could just cash it the next day. So September 6th, 8:30 p.m. So 8:30, he steps out, supposedly, according to a friend, for a cigarette, and he never returned or was ever seen from again, according to the friend. At 10 p.m., Jeff calls Clinton to check in while he was still at work, and this was after he seen police headed towards the direction of the friend's house. Clinton whispers to his father on the phone that the police were after him, and then the line went dead. So, 10 p.m. is whenever his father last spoke to him, and apparently he was being sought out by the police on September 1st, 2006. September 2nd, in the early morning hours of 2006, Clinton's father searches for him whenever he didn't return home. They left early in the morning to look for him and drove to the friend's house where he was last seen, and noticed that Clinton wasn't there, but he was greeted by the friend and the girlfriend. So September 3rd is whenever Clinton's mom was informed by Jeff, and he tells her that the police won't let him file a report until after Labor Day weekend. So, fast forward to January 2008, they started searching for Clinton again, the Friday through the Sunday, which is that weekend, using Texas ECKO search, and it was hosted by a massive grid-by-grid ground search for Nelson in the Princeton area. When his mother talks about him, she seems lost but determined. She stated, open quotations, "Someone, somehow, might know something. It's tough. I just want to know what happened and where he is," close quotations. So, it's said that there have been no incoming or outgoing calls on Clinton's cell phone, and he left an uncashed $2,000 paycheck at his home, and friends and family have not heard from him since. While police suspect something bad has happened to him, his mother said Friday there's no physical evidence to confirm or dismiss that. There's just simply nothing. The family asked that if anyone, anywhere, has ever heard anything or knows even the smallest bit of information that they might not even think might relate to the case, to please contact Louisiana Bossier Parish Detective Randy Towery at 318-965-2203. So then we're going to go to an article that was published by John Andrew Prime at the Gannett newspaper, or Gannett newspaper, however you want to call it, just depends on where you're from. And it stated that better weather and word of mouth helped more people show up to search for Houghton man who went missing since late 2006, but the search still ended up empty-handed. It was about like Friday, said Luff Mason, father of Clinton Devon Nelson, who hasn't been seen since September 1st, 2006. We didn't turn up anything. So 3 national missing person organizations organized a 3-day effort that searched around Highway 80 and State Highway 157. The sleet and very cold temperatures that were on that Friday were replaced Saturday by the blue skies and milder temperatures, and searchers actually were able to finally venture out into the thick woods near Princeton in East Bossier Parish. They stated that they pounded the ground all day. There were a bunch more people on Saturday than there was Friday due to the better weather conditions. Today there were 3 groups, and they stated that the following day, the previous day, they only had 2 groups. He estimated that there were at least 50 people on the ground Saturday, up from 24 on the previous day. So, Nelson was last seen on foot, and investigators say he only had a few dollars and no credit cards. So, a few dollars, $600 is not just a few dollars. $5 is a few dollars, y'all, but okay. So, the group set up a base station on Bossier Fire District number 1 on State Highway 157, and they all looked at maps and planned their grid-by-grid search, starting at 5 miles out from the house where Nelson was last seen. Bossier Sheriff's deputies made no arrests and said they don't know of anyone who wanted to have hurt Nelson. Nelson was commuting to Tyler, Texas to work on an oil rig, moved to Houghton to be with his birth father, and he lived there about 6 months before he went missing. Though easier than that previous day, Saturday, they stated, was still going rough. It was easier going out, but the woods were still tough. Sounded tired after the full day of hacking through all the branches and the rush. Though there were a lot of thorn bushes as well, and the biggest briars some say that they've ever seen. They stated that their legs and arms were like road maps from all of the thorns. So they stated that everyone there gave over 100%, and they were really grateful for it. Jeff Mason, Nelson's father, stated that he was very disappointed that they didn't find any clues. It was a lot of hard work walking through those briars. Nelson hasn't been seen since he left a residence on Ward Lane since September 1st, 2006, leaving behind that $2,000 paycheck. So volunteers in and around the site of New Princeton Athletic Complex, Timberland Estates, and around Fillmore Cemetery Road and other areas along US 80 at State Highway 157 were all searching for any clues, or hopefully they find Nelson just to bring him, to peace and rest with his family. So the number of volunteers hit a high point Saturday, and there was food donated by local restaurants and help from the Red Cross and anyone that may have just stopped by. The search for Nelson wasn't ending, and Mason stated that he's going to keep looking. Me and my family and friends. Probably won't be but about 4 or 5 of us, but we're always going to look. Mason still has the maps detailing the search area, and he plans to keep looking in areas they weren't able to get to on that previous search. Both parents hope someone will come forward with information that ends their search. They want to plead with anybody that knows what happened to Clinton that night to have courage to come forward. We know someone knows something. We need to know what happened to him. Jeff Mason stated, "I feel it in the bottom of my heart. Someone knows something." Now, Carolyn Johnson, Clinton's mom, sent an email out on December 19th, 2008. And I'm going to go ahead and read that to you all. It says, "Hey everyone, I really don't believe in forwarding email or sending out stuff I know people really don't want. However, this is a YouTube video of my son. Clinton Devon Nelson went missing on September 1st, 2006 from Princeton, Louisiana. We are desperately seeking answers as to what happened to him. I am asking two things of you. First, please pray for answers. And second, please forward this email to everyone that you can. We are not having a lot of luck getting this information out on a national level. So if we start sending it by email, maybe someone will recognize him and can fill us in on what happened over 15 months ago. Please help our family find the answers that we need. Sincerely, Carolyn Johnson, mother of Clinton Nelson, missing since September 1st, 2006 from Princeton, Louisiana." So in 2016, there was an update on Clinton's case, and it then started receiving national attention. But however, his disappearance still remains unsolved. With the 10th anniversary of Nelson's disappearance passing, both law enforcement and Nelson's family continue to hope that someone will come forward and give information about what happened to him, calling it a mother's intuition. Carolyn states that she has heard enough throughout the past 10 years to believe that Nelson is dead and that his death was not accidental. She hopes that the continued release of information related to her son Nelson's disappearance and the distribution of his photo will spur someone to come forward and help those who love Nelson receive closure on something that has caused her and her family and friends 10 years of pain. Bossier detectives still searching for the man 15 years now, and this was last updated in 2021. They're still trying to search for Clinton Nelson. So, if y'all know of anything, please do contact. I will link the video from Clinton's mom that she mentioned in that email, the video of Clinton, as well as the Facebook page that she has. And y'all, if you or someone you know is a victim of any foul play or abuse or sexual abuse, anything, y'all could contact various sources. Your local police department, and if you don't feel that that's at what you want, you could also contact the Victim Connect Resource Center at 1-855-484-2846. Or you could chat online with them at victimconnect.org. There's also the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they can be reached at 1-800-799-7233. And the Sexual Abuse Hotline is 1-800-656-4673. Also, you could also submit a 24-hour tip at the tip line at 910-232-1687. I will include all of this in the show notes, so don't feel that you got to listen to this 100 times. Although I would appreciate it, y'all don't have to. So you could also view the Center for Missing Person website at ncmissingpersons.org/Clinton-Nelson/. I want to thank y'all for listening. If you enjoyed our show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Wondery, wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to come back for our next discussion on a crazy case, y'all. I am taking y'all back. It's going to be in the 1700s with the first female serial killer of Louisiana. Y'all don't want to miss that. Until then, this is your host, Sarah Soudier, and please don't forget to like, share, comment, rate, review, follow, or subscribe to Criminalist Behavior, a Louisiana true crime podcast. Thank y'all, and y'all have a great day.